So is everyone ready to go to work? Today is Monday, November 23rd, 2020. So I watched Dutch Sheets over the weekend. He's having a prayer call every night. He's going to be in Arizona tonight. He was in Michigan last night and Georgia Saturday night. His programs are being held in churches, and they have music for the first half hour or hour. Dutch Sheets speaks, and he has other people speaking as well. And then they have a time of prayer that lasts at least half an hour. And anyhow, it's very powerful prayers, and I'd highly recommend it. They're going to be on again tonight in Arizona, and I think it's on at 7 or 8 I think it's 7 Central, 8 Eastern, but it may be 6 Central and 7 Eastern. I can't remember. I think it's 7 Eastern, which would make it 6 Central. So, top news today, this morning, made me laugh. I don't know if you guys, we'll just start with something a little light. It was a rough weekend for me this weekend. I was going to show you my happy light, but I finally had to get out my happy light. We had gray skies all weekend, and that's a real downer for me. So, I finally got my happy light out, and I was watching some videos from a recent conference, and sat there with the light beside me. It really made a difference. It made a big difference. Anyhow, the top news was about 2 white turkeys arriving in Washington, D.C., and they were big, beautiful, gorgeous. I think a male and a female, or maybe it was 2 males, and then they all looked like they also had a female. Anyhow, they showed them going on the red carpet up to the Willard Hotel, and then had pictures of them jumping on the beds full of very fluffy white linen. It was funny. So I hope you've had a chance to see that. And I loved the little bit of pomp and circumstance at the White House this morning when the Christmas tree arrived, and the First Lady went out to meet it. She was in a very beautiful gray wrap coat. Anyhow, the formality, she was escorted by a Marine, and it was lovely to watch. And it was kind of nice with all the hoopla we've got going on to have something pleasant like that coming out of the White House that we could enjoy, have a laugh at the turkeys, and appreciate our beautiful First Lady. Arif, it's more than Bloomberg. He tried to buy it. He hasn't worked as successfully as he had hoped. The one who has bought our government is China. Anyhow, I don't know if I just thought it was nice to have something lighthearted when I think about the fact that we are called deplorables, we're considered despicable, and then I heard this morning somebody calling us maggots. So, very, very pleasant. This lack of civility is a little unbelievable, but that's the way the devil works, right? He's just out to kill our joy, rob us completely. I saw that President Trump yesterday retweeted a few things yesterday that were worth mentioning. Clarence Thomas said, "In my humble opinion," and I have to appreciate Clarence Thomas very much. He became a friend of our fearless leader, and it was under his advice that helped him get through all the skullduggery of his appointment hearings. And I just appreciate very much the people that Larry had a chance to influence. He said, Clarence Thomas said, "In my humble opinion, those who come to engage in debates of consequence and who challenge accepted wisdom should expect to be treated badly. Nevertheless, they must stand undaunted. That is required, and that should be expected, for it is bravery that is required to secure freedom." And I appreciated his emphasis on bravery, because if you are alone for Thanksgiving, as I will be, we've got to be brave. If you are concerned about our situation with the government, you've got to be brave. Please pay attention to what's in the description box today. I didn't put the reasons for why we're doing this YouTube channel. I left that out today. It is all about calling your representatives. There is, Sidney Powell has put out a website that she wants us to go to, and it's called defendingtherepublic.org. And she lists the states that she wants us to get involved in. She gives a script. So I put the script that she asked us to read in the description box. And then Dick Morris gave us suggestions of things to do. Dick Morris says demand the vote that they not certify the electors yet, not certify the vote. I don't like that word demand. Sidney Powell has a script that I've put down here, and it's very polite. Make sure you stay very polite. You do not need to give your name. You don't need to give your name. Larry told us we don't have to do that. You could, but please say hello. Please be polite, and you can read the script. And then there are the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader for all these are Republicans, for Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Those are all, their contact numbers are all listed down below. Wisconsin has a new incoming majority leader, but we can contact both the one who's leaving because he's still in the lead right now. Yes, Diane, Celtic women have very beautiful music. Helen, your book is ready to go in the mail, but it's still sitting here on the table if that's what you need to text about. Sidney Powell had a tweet also that, wait a second. Franklin Graham was the other one I wanted to read that the president retweeted. I listened to what president's retweeting. He said, "The eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch on the evil and the good." That's Proverbs 15:3. I appreciate that our president is retweeting scripture. Have we ever had, tweeting wasn't very common in prior presidents, but I haven't heard too much in the way of use of scripture by any of our former presidents, although there were those that quoted the verse in Isaiah that really was bringing condemnation and judgment down on the nation after 9/11, saying we will rebuild. They thought that was, they thought it was, I'll get to that, Kelly. It's not as crazy as you think. They thought they were giving encouragement that we will rebuild. No, what they were failing to do is to recognize that this was an act of God's judgment. And so by saying we will rebuild, they were shaking their fist in God's face, saying we're going to rebuild what you just knocked down or allowed to be knocked down. This whole verse, the eyes of the Lord are in every place. There's another scripture that says the angel of the Lord roams to and fro throughout the earth, looking for somebody on whom he can show his favor because of our obedience. So God is watching everything that happens. Nothing slips by him. And what is going on is not a surprise to the Lord. And I saw an interview, at least one, with Sidney Powell this weekend. I wanted to quote a few of the things that she said. She said, "I can't unsee what I've seen, and I'll make others see it too." She also said that Trump and Barr do not have control over the DOJ as much as people think. And she said, "We had so many people voting for Trump that we broke the algorithm, and that's why they had to stop the count so that they can make up more ballots to backfill." And, it's interesting that the governor of Georgia, Governor Kemp, who's a Republican who used to support Trump, at least seemed to, they're suggest Diane, I don't think she's been fired. Okay. Anyhow, they're saying that he got paid $100 million to allow Dominion to do what they did in Georgia. Anyhow, Sidney Powell said that this massive project to pull this case together, he said the fraud case, Sidney Powell said the fraud case can undo the certification. And she said, this is going to be so big, it's going to be biblical. There was a witness from Georgia who was in Venezuela and saw right at the beginning of the Smartmatic, because it was designed to keep Chavez in power. And this witness saw what happened. And he said that there are even senators who are buying maybe even representatives who are buying their elections from Dominion. They are paying big money to Dominion to make the election go their way. Well, with that kind of money, it's no wonder we can't get new people into Congress, because the ones that have been there for 40, 50 years have ways to stay. And she also suggested that Doug Jones in Georgia, John James, these cases may overturn their losses as well. On another, let's see, Sidney Powell, she may be going after criminal charges. She's able to do that more likely as an independent. Remember with Larry, we were frustrated at how much money we had to raise for him, because he was doing things as a consultant for the government, for government leaders. And we couldn't understand why they couldn't pay him directly. But he told us over and over again, he had the ability to do things as an independent that would not be allowed as a government employee. So when they have let her go, I think what that really means is they have unleashed her. And she now has freedom to do all kinds of things. Why isn't the news speaking about the reassignment of justices to the Supreme Court, to the circuit courts? They don't want the people knowing what's coming. They're just keeping it all under wraps. They're continuing to keep up the narrative that Biden won. They're keeping up the pretense that he won. Let's see. I'm looking up here at a couple of, make sure I said. I guess I got all the questions. The justices, Trump reassigned them to the circuit courts. Now, I have wanted to get into Wikipedia or Google and just kind of understand a little more about how the courts work, and I didn't get a chance to do that. But the incredible thing is Kavanaugh is now over the circuit court over Michigan. Amy Coney Barrett is on the circuit court for Wisconsin. I think it's Kagan who has Arizona. Clarence Thomas has Georgia, the circuit court for Georgia. This reassignment is absolutely huge. Nobody saw this coming. This is Trump's brilliance. It just makes me wonder how much of this was a discussion with our friend. When I think of the September 2018 executive order that gives them the power to take all assets and so on, I very strongly suspect that Larry had something to do with that. All I can do with Larry is guess, okay? But that is an educated guess. Alito with Pennsylvania, Kelly, that's right. Let's see, what other? Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin. Yeah, I think, let's see. Yeah, I think we went over all of them. So, and of course, the liberal ones are over the circuit courts that cover the far eastern states, the northeastern states that are very liberal anyway. So it was interesting to read in, I think it was PolitiFact is the site I read this, that there is a judge in Ukraine who has opened ordered a criminal case be opened against Joe Biden and the effort he made as vice president to remove Ukraine's top prosecutor. I mean, that was bribery right there. And there was a member of the Ukrainian parliament. Trump made the assignments, Pam. There was a member of parliament in Ukraine who asked this judge to open a criminal case. Now, Biden has not been indicted. They've just opened a case. So they are evaluating what they're going to do. Another thing that I heard this morning, I think it was Dave Dobenmeyer said it this morning. And I'll say something about Larry afterwards. No one is suing Lynn Wood or Sidney Powell. So if what they're stating, if they're stating lies, somebody would be suing them for slander for what is being said, but nobody's suing them. Why? It's what Larry told us. That's why all the things that he has said about the Clintons through all these years, they never came after him in court. Why? Because they get discovery if there's a lawsuit. And the opportunity for discovery gives a lot of opportunity to dig up a lot of stuff in their background that they are trying to keep quiet. An absolute yo-yo for sure. Kelly, football games include both offense and defense. And so we are playing both ends. And we're going to end up in the end zone with the most number of wins. At least that's to be expected. So Jenna Ellis, remember, she's on Trump's team. She explained that lawsuits take time, so we need to be patient. We're such a McDonald's society. We want it and we want it now. The Burger King, you're going to have it your way and you're going to have it right away. That's not how the courts work. It takes time to put things together. Sidney Powell said nothing would be filed today. It was too quick, but she did expect that by Friday they would have lawsuits filed. And she said that even if votes have been certified and the electors have been selected, that can all be overturned with these lawsuits. Now, Chuck Pierce claims to be a prophet. He said that this is not going to be over until January 18th. Larry said it is very possible that it's going to run right up to Inauguration Day and maybe even beyond. He said, don't be surprised. Lawsuits take time. He fully expected that if Biden pulled off a win through fraud, that it would be overturned. So Larry did tell us that, or at least he told me that for sure, if he didn't tell us all. I just wanted to share a scripture that I found encouraging. Job 5:12-13. He thwarts, that is God, thwarts the plans of the crafty. So the Dominion certainly is a very crafty plan. Dominion is connected to the CIA. Smartmatic is connected to Smartmatic it comes out of Venezuela, which probably means Chinese involvement as well, is what Larry, I think, would say. I suspect he would have. Dominion was based out of Canada. And it's interesting that all these leaders are disappearing. Don't know where they've gone. But when the executive order says their assets can be confiscated internationally. See, remember, we used to have domestic law and we had international law. And there was no meeting of the two in the middle at all. You had to choose which court you could go after. And so all these big organizations like the Clinton Foundation and so on, Clinton Global Initiative, they're intertwined domestically and internationally. Now they can go after a criminal corporation or foundation and so on and so on. Whether they're domestic or international, they can have one case against against them. It used to be you had to choose one or the other, and you couldn't go after them in both areas. Pam, that's funny. So God thwarts the plans of the crafty, so their hands achieve no success. He catches the wise, or the people who think they're wise, in their craftiness, and the schemes of the wily are swept away. So that is Job 5, verses 12 and 13. I suggest you look that up, print it out, hang it up on your wall, and pray and remind God that he thwarts the plans of the crafty, and the schemes of the wily are swept away. We need to pray that into existence, okay? Declare it out loud. Declare it out loud. It is definitely God's perfect timing, and, I think God allows us to get frustrated, and he makes us wait until the 12th hour, 11th hour, because he's just making sure we know that he has had a hand in it, right? Then Mark 10, verses 42 to 45. This is something Jesus said. Absolutely. Oh, don't let me forget. I want to talk about that. Jesus said in Mark 10, 42 to 45, those who are regarded as rulers lord it over them. Their high officials exercise authority over them, but not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. I saw a video today that really, in a way, it was offensive, but in a way, I really appreciated it, because they showed President Trump. I know we think of him as arrogant, but he has humbled himself by giving up his wealth to help save this country. He is showing us setting self aside to serve. And remember how many times Larry said they aren't coming after Trump, they're coming after us. Do you remember how many times Larry told us that? And do you now notice this is something Trump picked up? Do you ever wonder where he got that idea after us hearing Larry say it? I can't prove anything, so I'm just throwing it out there. We're looking at corruption of biblical proportions in a way. Saying Joe is picking his criminal cabinet and asking about what Trump is doing in all this. I think Trump is giving the anti-Trumpers a chance to expose themselves. You see Chris Christie backing away from Trump. When you see people backing away from Trump, there's a reason they're doing that. Either they're being paid currently, or they have corruption to hide that they are siding with the evil ones, and they're scurrying away. They should be scurrying toward Trump, not scurrying away from him. That's how arrogant they are in thinking they've got this covered, right? I listened to Scott Lovely this morning with Coach Dave, and he was talking about this being a globalist conspiracy. He said we need to stand for truth against the satanic agenda, and we don't back down. We're in a fight with the devil. He wants to take you out, and if he can intimidate you to give up ground, that's what he's trying to do. So don't be intimidated. Kelly, exactly. Give them enough rope to hang themselves. That's exactly what I think Trump's trying to do. If you're intimidated, then you've given up ground to the devil. If you stand your ground, remember Ephesians 6, put on the whole armor of God and stand. Stand. It says it 3 times in Ephesians 6. Because if we stand our ground, then the devil's forced to reveal himself, and that's what we're seeing. Exactly, the smear campaign. Yes. The smear campaign is character assassination. They come at people from every angle until you are convinced that the person they're smearing is despicable. They're telling lies, but they are trying to get you so completely assassinated, have your character so completely assassinated that even the friends and family members around you won't support you. They are publicly destroying, so that in a way that you will never recover. And a couple of examples are that was Scott Lively in his sorry, this fuzzy is a little tickly. Scott Lively has had this happen to him, and he mentioned Judge Roy Moore as another example, somebody who's just had to disappear into the woodwork because of how viciously they smeared him to get rid of him out of politics. Larry, this happened to so severely. You know, when I'm not going to say more. Maybe my silence says enough. When I think of what an unknown he is here, with all that he's done for our country. Laura Loomer too. You're right. It just, how thoroughly somebody can be smeared and erased, and how quickly people want to just erase from their memory and move on. And all right, I'm not going to say any more about that, but please read between the lines. I really said a lot by my silence. In court, they can go after probable cause by just presenting evidence of error in the recount. They don't have to provide proof beyond a reasonable doubt unless they're going into a criminal prosecution. If they're going into a criminal prosecution, then they have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that what happened happened. But because these cases right now are based on probable cause, they just have to give evidence of the error. Yes, the president said we're not the ones. He's not the one that they're after. They're after us. And Kelly, thank you for your kindness. You know what? If Biden won, the investigation they're doing would prove it, right? And I was shocked to learn that as they've been doing the recount, there are people who are even reporting that they're cheating on the recount to try and keep Biden in. So we need to keep putting pressure on. We have to stay involved, folks. The rally like they had a week ago in D.C., there are Stop the Steal rallies. I know there was one in Arkansas, and I have not heard about another. I know they are continuing in Austin against the Texas legislature. And we need to keep rallies going. We need to be telling people. But one of the things that Larry said is most effective is phone calls to the people who can make a difference. And so please make phone calls with the list I've given you down below here. We also need to be praying that anything hidden will be uncovered. Remember, Numbers 32 verse 23 says, "Be sure your sin will find you out." And, you know, I found that true in my life, and I would imagine you have too. You know, these people have kept their sins hidden for a very long time because they were part of a clique, a small group. Oh, another march on December 12th. That's fabulous. I'm glad about that. Pray that everything hidden will be uncovered. because if Biden gets in, it's all getting swept under the rug. And we know that he is an incredible criminal. Biden is. Thank you, Josephine. Believe me, I do too. You're right. Larry did all kinds of work we'll never know about. He would give me hints. I wouldn't ask. I knew better than to ask because it was safer for me not to know. But it's not like he would give something to me that he didn't also give to you. But because I had heard it before the program when he was trying to decide what to share, I was so busy when he was talking, trying to take notes and trying to watch the chat so I could ask questions and make sure he responded to you, that what he said to us as a group didn't sink in as much as it did when he would tell me what he was planning to say. And so there are a few times when I can't remember if he talked about something that he had mentioned to me. Is there a website, Anne, for Stop the Steal? I know there's the hashtag Stop the Steal, but I don't know how to use that as a means of getting information. One last thing. Kyle Rittenhouse was the kid that had the AR-15 in the street during the Kenosha protests. I call it during the Kenosha riot. And he was arrested. And he was trying to protect himself because they were coming after him. And I mean, you saw him, down on the ground. I know it's a hashtag on Twitter. I just don't know how to use that. I know that's a way to do that. I'll try and see if I get anywhere. Anyhow, Kyle Rittenhouse there got arrested, and they had him in jail all this time on $2 million bail. Well, they finally raised enough yesterday, and he was released yesterday. Ricky Schroeder, the actor, I can't remember which show he was in. It was a family-friendly show that Ricky Schroeder was an actor, and he helped pay. A friend of mine in Texas, I am aware, said we got him out by we raised the $2 million, so she was obviously involved in that. My Pillow guy put up a couple $100,000 himself to help bail Kyle out and get him out. So if you have funds to buy a My Pillow for Christmas, if you put RSBN, Right Side Broadcasting Network, if you put RSBN in the promo code, you can get up to 60% off. I know his pillow and his sheets especially are really expensive, top quality though they are. But to get up, I haven't gone to the website because I just found this out just a little bit ago, just before the show. But if you put in RSBN, Right Side Broadcasting Network, in the promo code, you get up to 60% off. So it's a way for us to thank him for what he's done. His name's Mike, isn't it? Mike Little, Lindell. Anyhow, My Pillow guy. So I'm promoting him. I haven't been asked to, but I just thought that it's a way for us to say thank you to him for what he's doing. He has really caught a lot of pushback for his support of the president. Josephine, don't believe that Biden's getting in, okay? We remember, God doesn't do something without revealing it to the prophets, and there are prophets whose things have come true. And when I'm watching what Mark Taylor had said, Larry had a hard time believing Mark Taylor's prophecies because he was saying that there were going to be military tribunals, and Larry said that's not how it works. But there is something in the works to put a lot of this under the military, under the Department of Defense. So, there's something going on that is beyond what had been in the past. So, we cannot be fearful, but we do need to be as prepared as possible. And if you don't have funds to do anything for preparation for trouble, then make sure you are seeking God's face. Oh, I wanted to tell you something funny. I'll end on a light note. I was just getting ready for the show, and I was singing the song "In Your Presence, That's Where I Belong." Seeking your, the song says seeking your face, and then I immediately thought about Larry saying, what does it mean, the last day he was on the show with us, what does it mean to seek God's face? And so I pictured him seeking God's face in heaven. And then I burst out laughing, because you know what a soldier he was. He told me that he had been trained in a Japanese martial arts technique that is no longer legal anywhere in the world to teach. So he's one of the last warriors with that technique. And I thought, here heaven has hundreds of thousands of warrior angels. I can just imagine Larry going up to them saying, teach me some of these techniques I need to learn. And please let me go back to help defend Israel. He loved Netanyahu. He appreciated, he fought with the Mossad at one point in his life, he said. So, I know he's just itching to help defend Israel in the end. So I'm sure I just started laughing, just imagining him saying, teach me, because he loved to learn new things too. So anyhow, on that note, I will say be strong and courageous, and I will see you tomorrow. God bless you.